Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. I'm continuing my series about debating. So looking back to that video I did a few days ago, smoking debate, and I argued both sides of the House. So now I'm going to analyse my argument where I was arguing against the motion. I was the opposition when I said this House believes that smoking should not be outlawed. I was saying no, not outlawed, because the motion was this House believes that smoking should be outlawed. And I was against. I was saying no to that motion. That's what the opposition does. So I began in the typical fashion, which is looking to the chair and greeting Madam Chair, if it's a woman, or indeed Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, and then beginning. Then outlining my four principal arguments, I saying that smoking is not that bad. Now notice, I couldn't take issue with the proposition's assertion that smoking is injurious to people's health, because it's true, smoking is bad for people's health. And I'm not going to tell an outright lie, say, no, it's not. It has no impact on your health, or it's even good for your health, because I would look ridiculous, and everybody would know that I was telling a stinking lie. So if I can't disprove what they're saying, or I can't contradict it, what I can do is try and say that they've overstated it, they've exaggerated it. The dangers are not as grave as they've been made out to be. So I tried that line, that smokers die 12 years younger on average. The way you go on about it, you'd assume it was 50 years younger. And then choice, that was perhaps the nub of my argument. Maybe I ought to have opened with that one, that it's a decision that people make, and we ought to respect individual decisions. It's a matter of personal autonomy. Everyone decides what he or she would like to do with his or her own body. We ought to respect that choice, and the state shouldn't intervene. I brought in the thin end of the wedge argument, saying we mustn't allow a ban on this, because if you ban this substance, you'll ban another and another and another, and just get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what a wedge is. It's like a right angle triangle, and you fit it into a small gap, and then it makes that gap get bigger and bigger and bigger. This line of reasoning is sometimes known as a slippery slope argument. Supposing you're on top of a hill and it's flat, you're not going to fall off. But if you go onto the slope, and that's the side, the angle, and it's slippery with ice or mud, you'll start to slide further down and down and down and down and down. And once you go onto that slope, you can't stop yourself sliding all the way to the bottom. You see the slope is angled like my arm is there. Because it's difficult to say that tobacco is a good thing. It certainly does have a deleterious effect on people's well-being. So I said, yes, but why don't, if you could do this, you're going to say, we're going to ban caffeine and alcohol and sugar and meat and so on. And I pointed out an inconsistency. Well, if you're really against cancer, they're carcinogens in barbecue smoke, and so you're not arguing to against those. It's a bit like logical absolutism, that rationale, that if you believe in health, you have to go all the way and forbid everything that's remotely unhealthy. A specious argument, but it was one that was worth trying to advance. So I'm not sure what else. I expounded how it was unenforceable. So this is a good tactic for oppositions to do. Examine the model that's been put forward by the opposite side. You scrutinise their paradigm, as in their philosophical model, saying that things that are dangerous ought to be outlawed. And I noticed that this is not always practical. And I cited previous examples such as prohibition of alcohol, which was seen in many European countries and North America in the early 20th century, the United States, Canada, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia. They all banned alcohol around the 1920s, and it was a catastrophe. They all backpedaled on it. Many Muslim countries have outlawed alcohol, and it's not been effectively enforced in many cases. It's made things worse, and it's taking money from the taxpayer and giving it to criminals. So I said that it would backfire. So, and you could say they haven't told us how they would enforce this, or they haven't said how much it's going to cost, and things like that. So you try and pick holes in the model they've advanced. If you look to Scotland 2014, there's a referendum on Scotland leaving the United Kingdom. So the yes campaign was saying Scotland should leave the UK. The no campaign followed this tactic. Their strategy was to critically analyse the yes campaign's proposal, Well, what are you going to do about money? What are you going to do about defence? Are you going to be a NATO membership? What are you going to do about being the European Union? What are you going to do for a currency? And the Yes campaign hadn't figured out answers to all these. So because the No campaign was able to sow doubts in the mind of the voters. And so too, if you're the opposition in this case, you might be able to spread doubt in the minds of your hearers and make them believe that the Yes campaign, or sorry, the proposition side rather, doesn't have a convincing or workable model. So it's like that. And then I tried to sign off in the traditional fashion by saying, I beg to oppose. Other ways to say it. And that is why I urge the House to reject this motion. Something like that. And that's why I stand proudly in opposition. There's more than one way to do it. So sign off with aplomb and raise the volume a bit whilst you do it. So maintaining eye contact, looking around the room a little bit, not just at one person all the time. We don't want to be trying to freak people out. Whoa, tiger, no death stares. So anything else? So just the typical things I was doing, as in the proposition speech, which was trying to be a little bit lively. This is entertainment to some extent. Moving my body just a little bit, gesticulating to beat to the rhythm of my words, and leaving pauses occasionally, different facial expressions, and varying the tone, volume, and the speed. Nonetheless, trying to make sure that I pronounce everything clearly, was easily comprehensible to everyone. So packing in enough information. I didn't do rebuttal this time because I did one speech for proposition, one speech for opposition. The rebuttal is trying to knock down the arguments of the other side. If you've noticed any mistakes, any contradictions, any logical fallacies that they have come up with, do they make actually any false statements? Questioning their presumptions, say, is that true? Do you know that? Can you prove that? Where do you get that information from? Things like that. American debating is much more about research, and they painstakingly fact-check these things. They've got a watertight case. British debating is a bit more extemporaneous, as in thinking on your feet, quick fire. The rebuttal person has to be someone who's very good at ad-libbing and coming up with things either on the spot or just as they listen to the other people's speeches, noting things down to fight back. Now, a note about terminology. So the proposition side, sometimes in the United States they call that affirmative because you're saying yes to the motion. And the opposition side in the United States is sometimes called that negative, as in you're saying no to the motion. There are other debating styles where someone has to be a prime minister of a country, and another person has to be a foreign minister of a government, particularly in model United Nations. Rather than say motion, people sometimes say resolution. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there are different styles of debating. Such as the UK, there's BP, British Parliamentary, IV, InterVarsity, but they have certain elements in common. Well, that's it about my analysis of the pro-smoking speech, or at least allowing smoking speech.